the new oil? First quarter macro numbers, my report on the Boao Forum, and more. Special envoy for the right to food, Monsieur Jean Ziegler, created a firestorm when he announced with some fanfare that rice supplies would not hold up and that financial speculators were driving prices and potentially creating a silent famine. The price of rice is up dramatically, and well-publicized riots and oversupply in poorer countries has led to hoarding from Southeast Asia to Silicon Valley. The UN buys large quantities of rice for its World Food Program, and Monsieur Ziegler also blamed diversion for biofuel production in some countries for exacerbating the rice crisis. President Lula of Brazil, however, struck back. Speaking at the opening of the FAO summit in Brazil, Lula said the agricultural subsidies of rich nations, particularly the EU, are more to blame. Fact is, the supply of rice for international trading in 2008 is forecast at just under 30 million tons, down only 1% from 2007. Large new harvests are expected in the second half from Latin America and South Asia, leading to an increase in supply by the fourth quarter. While speculation in rice is probably occurring in some cases, it is doubtful rice will become a hedge commodity. Only 4 to 5% of global rice production is traded internationally. The largest rice wholesaler in Hong Kong, Golden Resources, says prices are near peak, barring a big natural disaster. Rice is not wheat. The Chinese bear market continues. The Shanghai Composite Index remains down almost 50% from its peak October 2007. It is the worst performing major index in the world and closed April 21 at 3,116.98. The CSI 300 index is flat and closed Monday at 3,267.55. B shares barely move. Shanghai Bs closed April 21 at 219.36. Shenzhen Bs at 517.33, both up on moderate gains from their recent plunge. On the upside, the Hang Seng China Enterprise Index appears to have bottomed out. Closed April 21 at 13,015, up over 2.5% on the strength of PetroChina shares. On Taiwan, the TAIEX index continues its climb back and gained just around 1% today to close at 9,083.32. One bright spot in Shanghai is the IPO of Jinduicheng Molybdenum, 601958.SS, and on the Shanghai Domestic Exchange, first mentioned last year on the Sinomania show. It is only the third IPO of the year in Shanghai. The stock rose over 36% on its trading debut here late last week and raised over $1.25 billion US. It has since declined and was down 9% today. So far, less than $8 billion US value has been raised this year in Shanghai, down almost a third from a year ago. This show's alphabet starts with 2899.HK for the H share of Zijin Mining trading in Hong Kong. Zijin is expected to make its Shanghai debut in May. The company is one of China's biggest gold miners, and according to the Shanghai Securities Times, could raise over $1 billion US value in Shanghai. Next, SGQ.V for coal miner South Gobi Energy Resources trading on the Canadian stock market. The coal group plans a secondary share offering in Hong Kong sometime in the second half. China is now the world's second biggest exporter behind Germany and ahead of the United States, with merchandise exports in 2007 valued at $1.2 trillion US. Real GDP growth slowed to just above 10.5% in the first quarter. Exports grew over 20% in dollar terms, but in renminbi terms only 12%, considerably less than first quarter '07, the slowest growth since 2002, and China's trade surplus was down 11%. Retail sales rose over 20% in the first quarter, so domestic demand is strong, although that is only 12.3% in real terms. Consumer inflation was down marginally to 8.3% in March, with food inflation down slightly to 21.5% according to Morgan Stanley estimates. However, energy and raw materials continue up, the latter rising almost 10% for the quarter, and fixed investment surprised analysts by surging almost 26% in the first quarter. The recently concluded annual session of the Boao Forum, the Chinese Davos, shows evidence of political shifts in Asia. The new Mandarin-speaking Prime Minister of Australia, Kevin Rudd, was there along with leaders from Chile, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Pakistan, Qatar, Sri Lanka, Sweden, Tanzania, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, former French President Jacques Chirac, and former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell, along with large contingents of business executives and deal makers. Presiding over it all was Chinese President Hu Jintao. The biggest development by far was the roundtable discussion between Hu and Vice President-elect of Taiwan, Vincent Hsu. The 20-minute dialogue was the longest and highest level meeting between the Chinese Communist Party and the Kuomintang Party in many years. At its conclusion, Vincent Hsu issued a 16-character statement saying the two sides should face reality, take sight of the future, shelve disputes, and pursue a win-win scenario. Hsu told reporters that the meeting turned a new page in history. We can only hope so. I'll see you next time on the Sinomania Show.